Hello and welcome to Trust and Estates Weekly. I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and we're here every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Well, morning on the West Coast anyway, and in Mountain Time, it's 11 a.m. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and then it's noon Central Time, and it's 1 p.m. So it's good afternoon to all of you on the East Coast. So thank you very much for joining me. And today I'm going to talk about a topic. It's not a financial topic. It's more of a sort of logistical topic, if you will, and that is what happens to a decedent's social media accounts. What needs to happen in terms of planning, and what happens after the person passes away. So I'm reminded of some. This is really the kind of the early days of social media. My high school choir teacher had a Facebook page, and I'm sure you get the same thing, that you get these alerts that it's their birthday, and so every year I would post a greeting to, his name was Larry, to Larry, wishing him happy birthday. And at one point I got a message back saying that he had passed away. And they had left his page up as kind of a memorial for him. And it took me, I don't know, 2 or 3 years to remember that, in fact, he had passed away. As far as I know, the page is still up on Facebook. Now, candidly, you would have thought they would have put something on the page, in memoriam or something like that, but they didn't. But whatever. So, and I'm sorry to say that I think it bothered his relatives, that I would post these happy birthday messages. I wasn't doing it, of course, to make them sad or anything. It just, like I said, took me sort of a couple of years for it to sink in that he was gone. So, this is an issue that needs to be dealt with if the person engaged in social media. Now, some people don't at all. I guess there's 4 or 5 people in the world like that. But it is something that needs to be dealt with. So I've got a sort of a combination presentation. I've got a PowerPoint on a few things, and then I'm going to sort of go to some websites so you can see exactly what the policies are for different social media sites. So whoops, wait a minute. I've got the wrong thing here. Hold on 1 second. I'm not sure what happened here. That was last week's presentation. Okay, let's. It's going to take a minute for it to upload. So while the presentation is uploading, I'll continue. Each social media site has at least some sort of slight differences. But the main thing is, okay, here we go. That's uploaded, and wow, that's bizarre. It's it doesn't want to upload the presentation. Huh. Okay, well, so here's what I'll do. I'll bring it up and I'll talk to you about what's on it, and actually, here's what I'll do. Right over here, and we're going to try this once more. Okay, let's see what happens here. It says it's bringing up the right one, but the suspense is really going here. See, the best laid plans of mice and men, they say. Um, anyway, there are some differences about how this works. But if you are an executor or an administrator or a trustee, the decision issue that you should be aware of, and it's part of your responsibilities, even though it's oh, I bet I know what the problem is. Let's take a look at this again. I bet I forgot to change the title. Let's see. Come on, computer, do your thing. Now it's gonna spin. Here we go. Wow. Definitely having our challenges today. Okay, well, yeah, I see what I did here. I forgot to change the the first slide. So it should say social media, decedent social media accounts. Okay, well, it is what it is, and it's really just, I don't know what's going on here, but okay. So I'm just going to talk to you about the various issues. We'll have to forego the seeing the PowerPoint. So let's talk first of all on the planning side of things. So one of the things to keep in mind as you're doing your own estate plan is that you should have a centralized place where you keep your login information for your various social media accounts. Now, it should be, you don't want them obviously spread all over the place. It should be someplace private, as secure as a place where you would keep important documents like a copy of, like your trust, like your will, etc. But you should have all of those login names or email addresses and passwords available so that your executor, the administrator of your estate, can access those various accounts. Okay, so that's number one in terms of your planning. Now, the next thing to do, most of the social media sites will give I'm going to just call it your personal representative, whether it's a trustee, administrator, or whatever. They'll give your personal representative essentially two options. One is to close the account, and the other is to memorialize it, meaning it'll be kept up in a essentially static state. Whatever is there at the time of your death will continue there, but nothing new can be added. It's not an active account. Okay, and so if you have a preference, you should make that known to your personal representative so that they know what your wishes are. Now, if you don't care, or if you want it left up to the people you leave behind, so then say that as well. Say, I don't care whether you close it or memorialize it. Just, figure out what my, family member and or friends want to do, and just do that. That's also perfectly legitimate. But in some way or other, it'll be useful for your personal representative to know what your wishes are in regards to your social media, as it is, your financial wishes, charitable wishes, etc. Okay, so do take the time to think about that a little bit, and decide, if you have a preference, and if not, express that you don't. Okay, next, make sure you communicate your wishes. So if, for example, you don't want your social media accounts memorialized, so make sure that your loved ones know about that. Okay, it's nothing to hide from them. It's it's just a matter of this is what you want, and so socialize it with them and explain to them why. I can't think of a reason off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are perfectly valid reasons out there why people don't want their social media presence to continue. First of all, I suppose there's always the chance it can be hacked into, and things can be done that the person would feel is inappropriate, or they may feel that, look, my time on this mortal coil, as Shakespeare calls it, is over, and there's no reason for me to, in essence, continue that kind of presence. So whatever your wishes are, communicate them to your loved ones. Make sure it's in your estate planning documents, and you can tell them so. You can say, look, I've directed my personal representative, my trustee or whatever, to close the accounts or to memorialize them, whatever. But make sure that they know it. And by the way, don't be surprised if your loved ones disagree with you. So let's say you decide that you want your accounts closed down. They may disagree with you and say, gosh, it would be a comfort for us to, for you to memorialize them. It's kind of like a little bit of you that's still with us. And since you're gone, does it really matter, that they be shut down? As opposed to us who are still going to be here, and we would like to keep them up. Conversely, they could, you may want to keep them up, and they may say, gosh, we really don't want to be reminded of our loss, every time we go online. So we would really prefer that we be able to close them down. So certainly have those conversations, and I would recommend at least, consider their wishes. You don't necessarily have to do what they say, of course. But I think it's wise to get their input as part of your decision-making process. Okay, so that's at the planning stage. Now, after death, so now we're talking about what your personal representative should do. So first of all, and this should be part of, sorry, I'm allergies here today. If you want, or if you're the personal representative and you think you should download the data in any particular social media account. Okay. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, for making sure that your personal representative has your login credentials. Okay. So they can go into your account and archive that data if they choose to, especially if you want them to. Okay. So maybe your request to them may be shut down the accounts, but archive the data first. Okay. Well, there you go. So archive the data first, and then you'll notify the platforms of the person's death. Now you'll see as we go through. We're going to go through, I think, 3 or 4 of them. You'll see that it says that it has to be someone authorized to do so, and I'll show you what they mean by that. But for now, we're going to call it the personal representative. As a personal representative duly appointed, all right, you have the authority to handle this matter as you do pretty much everything else. Okay, and so you can direct the social media companies to do whatever it is either the decedent has requested be done, or in your discretion, in consultation with family members, that you decide needs to be done. Okay, so if and I do want to stress this, if the decedent didn't make his wishes known, so then I think you really, as the personal representative, you're obligated to confer with the loved ones left behind to get their sense about what they'd like to do. Either the decedent didn't care or didn't think about it. Okay, the person is gone now. for you to act solely on your own authority, while legally you probably have the ability to do that, and that's, that's a legal question. I'm not going to get into the particulars of that. But as a fiduciary, and when you're acting as a personal representative, whether you're a professional fiduciary like me, or you're a relative who's been made executor under a will, you're acting in a fiduciary capacity. And so, again, while you have the authority to make the final decision, you would be well advised to talk to other people, especially if there's a spouse and children left behind, so their wishes should be taken into account. And hopefully some sort of consensus can be reached about how to handle this. Obviously, some people will be more interested in the issue, if you will, than others, and that's fine. But do consult the family members, etc. Okay, now another issue is sometimes other accounts will have links to social media. Okay, and so that should be checked out too, and see, to what other accounts are social media connected. So if the person has a website and their social media is connected to their website, or maybe they had some sort of professional, like they were part of a large company, and then that large company, there were social media links. Anything like that should be checked out. And what are the consequences to that with respect to these other linked websites? So, if they have, some sort of professional website, for example, I can't imagine there would be, but, is there some kind of requirement that website be, left up for a certain period of time? Probably not from a licensing standpoint, but you may choose to post a notice on the website about the decedent's passing. And so you may decide to leave up the decedent's social media accounts for a certain period of time after, the notification on the website appears, so that people can still use those links to go over to the social media, express their condolences, or share some thoughts about the person, that sort of thing. And in fact, you may even encourage people to do that on the website, and say, if you'd like to share your remembrances about the decedent with the decedent's loved ones, please, use the links to the social media below to do so. We're going to keep this up and active for the next whatever time period, 3 months, 6 months. And then we're going to archive, all of these comments, so that the decedent's loved ones can have them. Okay, so just keep in mind, social media doesn't happen in a vacuum. It may be connected to other things in the decedent's life. And then finally, respect privacy, and this is where you as an individual, giving direction to your personal representative while you're doing your estate planning, and you as a personal representative conferring with loved ones, make sure that you're considering the privacy aspects of this. Okay, so some people may want to grieve in private, and that's perfectly valid. Okay, so in that case, you might if you were to say, we were talking about posting a notice on a website, you might post a notice that's, informing, clients and customers of the person's death. And you may say, the family wishes to grieve in private, and so we ask you to refrain from contacting them, or something like that. Okay. So again, understand those privacy aspects. Make sure that we're being as sensitive to people and in their grief, etc., as we can be, as you deal with these various issues. Okay, so we're going to take a look at several social media sites, their policies relating to death of a user. And I'm taking basically the top 5. I don't know if we'll get through all 5 in the time left, but by participants. So the biggest social media site is, you could guess, is Facebook. I don't have the numbers, but it's, I think, a couple of billion users worldwide. So that's followed by YouTube, Instagram, and then there's some others that aren't used in the US very much, and goes on to LinkedIn, and then X, which is, of course, what Twitter used to be. So I'm going to take you to several of these. Let's see. Make sure that I'm. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Took me a minute there to find the right one. Okay, so this is Facebook. Okay, so you can see here, managing a deceased person's account. If Facebook is made aware that a person has passed away, it's our policy to memorialize the account. Okay, memorialized accounts are in place for friends and family to gather and share memories after a person has passed. Memorializing an account also helps keep it secure by preventing anyone from logging into it. Okay, so that's what they do. Now, you'll notice down here, request removal of a deceased member's Facebook account. Okay, so if they call you a legacy contact, you're basically, the person's personal representative. Okay, so you see here, they tell you, what to do. They give you various links to follow. So I'm going here to, here's how you request a removal of a deceased family member's account. Okay, so it's interesting. Submit one document to provide proof of authority. You'll notice they include a power of attorney. If a person is dead, a power of attorney dies with them. It's interesting that Facebook takes that. Okay, birth certificate, last will and testament, estate letter. So an estate letter it's what are called letters testamentary, or letters of testamentary, or letters of administration. Okay, and then submit one document to provide proof that the loved one has passed away, an obituary or a memorial card. Wow, I mean, that is very low barrier, because I can write an obituary for anyone, right? In order to, show that they passed away. So this is not a very vigorous policy. Okay, request content from a deceased person's Facebook account. Okay, and so you can send them a request here, etc. Okay, so that's Facebook's policy. Now let's go and take a look at the next one, which is YouTube. So where are we here? Here we go. Okay. All right. So submit a request regarding a deceased user's account. Now, YouTube is owned by Google. So when you're dealing with their YouTube account, you're really dealing with their whole sort of, Google presence, if you will. And you can see, so account closure requests. Or actually, so let's look here first. We recognize that many people pass away without leaving clear instructions on how to manage their online accounts. We can work with immediate family members and representatives to close the account of a deceased person where appropriate. In certain circumstances, we may provide content from a deceased user's accounts. In all those cases, our primary responsibility is to keep people's information secure, safe, and private. Okay, they cannot provide passwords or login details. Okay, so this is why I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you want to record that information for your personal representative. Otherwise, they're not going to have access to it, and you're going to be subject to whatever Google decides. Okay, so here's different things you can do. What would you like to do? Close the account of a deceased user. Submit a request for funds from a deceased user's account. So let's say the person has some Google ads, and there's some funds on account still, okay, you can get that. Obtain data from a user's account. Okay, so let's look at close an account. Okay, and they're just going to give you, okay, name of the deceased person, email of the deceased person, name, full name of legal representative or relative. Okay, and here's, you choose one, country, zip code. So you see, you'll fill in this information. Okay, now look at Google. First of all, they want you to upload a scan of your government issued ID. They want to make sure you are who you are. They want the decedent's death certificate. Okay, this is really the way to verify, of course, that somebody has passed away. Okay, upload a scan of any additional documents we may need to better understand your case. So if you are a personal representative and you have letters testamentary, then you could upload a copy of those letters here. Okay, if you're the trustee under a trust, okay, so you may not want to upload the entire trust document, but you may put in a comment here, do you need a copy of the segment of the trust that shows that I'm the successor trustee? Okay, and if you get back yes, so then you can upload that as well. So you can see that Google is being much more thorough than Facebook is. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is, okay, Instagram. And I think Instagram is actually pretty similar to Facebook, because indeed Instagram and Facebook are essentially the the same company. Okay, so you see, it looks very, very similar, okay, to the Facebook policy. However, in this case, removing the account, they want a copy of the deceased person's death certificate, proof of authority under local law that you are the lawful representative of the deceased and or his or her estate. And then they say, to request that an account be removed, you fill out this form. It's probably going to, okay, so there you go. Here it is. When did the person pass away? And here's where you provide the death certificate, your letters, testamentary, etc. Okay, so again, Instagram is more thorough than Facebook is, but not as, I wouldn't put them in the same category as Google. Okay, next is LinkedIn, and let me find. LinkedIn. Here we go. Okay, so LinkedIn, here's what you need, and we're starting to see a pattern here. Okay, so if you want to, if you have the authority to act on behalf of a deceased member, you can request to close the account. Okay, and by the way, all of these will allow you to memorialize the account, but memorializing the account is going to happen once the person is reported deceased. To close the account, they want more formal authorization. Okay, so to close the account, excuse me, you'll need the member's full name, their LinkedIn profile, your relationship, their email address, date of passing, link to an obituary. So it sounds like they want a published obituary. Okay, to request to close an account, okay, you're going to need one of the following legal documents: letters of administration. These are issued by a court when somebody other than an executor appointed in a will is the person who's authorized to act on behalf of the decedent. Letters testamentary, it's same thing, only this is when the person is appointed as an executor. Okay, letters of representation or another court order appointing the requester as the authorized person. So LinkedIn being a professional, a social media site for professionals, you can see they're being very, very clear here in what you have to have. Okay, now if you're the trustee, successor trustee under a trust, so you're not going to have any of these, but you can provide an excerpt from the trust showing that you're the trustee. Hopefully, LinkedIn will will honor that. If they won't, you may have to go to court and get the court to give you a court order to be able to do it. Okay, and we're just going to go with one more here, and that is LinkedIn. I'm sorry, that is X. And let's see, where is X? Here we go. Okay. So now X is the only one that talks about a deceased user and an incapacitated user. Okay, so if a user is incapacitated, they also have a process for removing that person's account, see, due to medical or other reasons. Okay, we can work with a person authorized to act on them. So in that case, that would be a situation where a power of attorney would give you authority to act on behalf of the incapacitated person, whereas there's no such thing as a power of attorney to act on behalf of a deceased person, because a deceased person cannot the person dying cancels the cancels the power of attorney. Okay, but otherwise they theirs are sort of more general. Okay, and they're going to go through a process of verifying that you have authority to act on behalf of the decedent in terms of dealing with their social media account. Okay, so that is the subject for today. Like I said, not a financial subject, but it could be one that is fraught with emotion. And so it should be dealt with in the planning process. And it is something that, as a personal representative of whatever type, you're prepared to deal with. So I thank you very much for joining me today. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time is my show, Business Lessons from the Military. And we're going to talk about the military's reward system. You know, in the military, there's no such thing as getting a raise in pay for, particularly, good work. The pay scales are all set by law. And you, generally speaking, get a pay increase every year. Everybody in the military does. And you get a pay increase when you advance in rate or rank. But there's no such thing as sort of merit pay increases. So we're going to look at how the military deals with rewarding people for, superior performance. And then on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time is my show, People Making Money. And we're going to look at the state of the economy. So previously, I was doing this as an email newsletter, and I thought it would be better to do a show on this. So once a month, typically it's going to be the second Wednesday of the month, I'm going to do a show on the state of the economy. We're going to go through a number of different factors in terms of inflation, unemployment, salaries and wages, etc. And we're going to talk about what these different factors mean, how they've changed, how they may be impacting you specifically, right? None of us lives a so-called average life. So when they reported earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, I guess, that inflation was 3.5% from February to March. Well, that's all good and well, but that's a national average. That means nothing to any of us as individuals. And so I'm going to be showing you how you can look at these things yourself and figure out, why do I feel like I'm not as well off, or why do I feel well off and so many other people don't, things like that. So we're going to get into more of the details, and you'll see what's behind all of this economic data. So, and then a week from today will be the next edition of Trust and Estates Weekly. I have a guest, and he's going to be talking about the 5 myths of a living trust. Paul Doherty, I believe his last name is. I know his first name is Paul. So I hope you'll tune in with me, and and join me for my conversation with Paul. So thanks again for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and signing off as I always do. Marie, you are my bell. All the best, folks.